Good evening, students. Hi, students. Welcome to VerandaRace. And today's session is about the common error spotting approach to the Hindu editorial. So I can see 5 are waiting. So let us start the session because we cannot afford to be late because I'm already 1 minute late. I'm sorry for that. So hi, students. Welcome to VerandaRace. Okay, I'm sorry. So I've not heard any good evening from anyone till now. I'm waiting for the good evening so that we can initiate. So where is Danny, Vijay, Balan, Sriveni and Vignesh and all. So good evening, everyone. So today's session is again I'll state it's an error spotting approach to the Hindu editorial. Kishore Kenneth, good evening. Good evening. Very good evening, Kishore. Sir, okay, fine. So 10 people are on. So we'll discuss, this is February 17, thorough discussion of the editorial. So this is what I have prepared today. This is the editorial, Signs of Peace. The dispute between Russia and Ukraine. The editorial speaks about this, and you can see there are some bolded parts are there. Kirtana, good evening. Danny Vijaywalan, good evening. Hi, good Danny, how are you? One of my favorites. So what I've done is, I have underline some parts. So there is an error in those parts, and you have to find the error in those parts which have been underlined. Then there are emboldened parts which the vocabulary of the meaning of which I'll be telling you. So with the frenzy, it is pulling out some, then had risen fears of war, appeared to root in building military pressure, and talks to the West. These are underlined parts. These have an error. So you have to find the error and resolve it. One thing I'd like to tell you, from tomorrow onwards, we will focus on, in the 11 a.m. session, I'm saying everybody should attend the 11 a.m. session as well, because we'll be doing some really good quality questions. So would expect everybody to be present in the 11 a.m. session tomorrow. From 11 a.m. session tomorrow, everybody should be present. And in the evening, obviously, we are taking different approaches. Sometimes closed test approach, sometimes error spotting approach, sometimes we'll focus on vocabulary. Sometimes I'll ensure that I do some filler kind of questions, fillers. I'll give options as well. So I'm trying to provide every possible aspect to the reading editorial that will improve your reading comprehension. So today's approach will be, so what happens is, if you follow the closed test approach, your overall understanding of the English language and overall understanding of a comprehension passage improves. You will not know now, but gradually it will improve. So it is for every student. You must be present in the class from tomorrow. Only 12 people are online. I would request everyone to tell their friends to be online as well, so that we learn a lot. So the passage starts from Russia's announcement that it is pulling out some troops from Ukraine's borders is the strongest signal of de-escalation from Moscow. Okay, so okay, fine, Danny. Race batch, okay, Race Institute, 8:30 to 1 p.m. No problem, Danny. So Russia's announcement that it is pulling out some troops from Ukraine's borders is the strongest signal of de-escalation. So meaning of de-escalation is reducing in intensity. De-escalation is reducing or reduction in intensity. Fine. So Russia's announcement that it is pulling out some troops. So there's an error in this part. You have to find the error. So what's the error? You can guess. Russia's announcement that it is pulling out some troops. Any guesses? Okay, I'll tell you the answer. So Russia's announcement that it is pulling back some troops. Pulling back means asking to retreat. Retreat means coming back. So it is pulling back. Pulling out means to, if you pull out of something, you make it happen. For example, I'll tell you. Pull out. Pull back is definitely, pull back means retreating, coming back, or receding, going back. So Russia's announcement that it is pulling back some troops from Ukraine's borders is the strongest signal of de-escalation from Moscow. De-escalation means reduction in intensity of animosity, that is enmity. You understand this? So pulling back is correct answer. Kishore Kenneth says have. Where should we have? Okay. So can anyone tell me the difference between pulling back and pulling out? Pulled out. So he pulled out of the candidature. Means he rejected the candidature, or he refused the candidature. But pull back means to go back. Go back means recede. Okay. So, or pull out means one more thing. Pull out means to, if you say he pulled out, the match was pulled out. No, not really. I would say pull out is like rejecting or refusing, if I'm sure. So I'll just mark it over here. I'll write it over here. We'll come back on pulled out. But pulled back is the correct answer. You can confirm with, you can confirm with your best mentor, Google, and let me know. But pull back will be the correct answer. Okay. So Russia has always maintained that they had no plans to attack on Ukraine. So what's the error in this part? Can anyone tell me? Danny Vijay Balan or Kishore Kenneth or Kirtana or Kishore? Yeah. Can anyone tell me what's the error in this part? That they had no plans to attack on Ukraine. So Russia has, what has happened till now? So Russia's announcement that it will pull back the troops from Ukraine is the strongest signal of reduction in intensity of animosity from Moscow. So Russia has always maintained that they had no plans to attack on Ukraine. So what's the error in this part? Okay, I'll tell you the error. After attack, on should not be there. Attack Ukraine, to attack Ukraine. So this on should not be there. There's a second error we have got. On attacking, no Kishore. It should be attack Ukraine. No plans to attack Ukraine, not on attack. Have. They have no. See, one present perfect is already there. Has always maintained. That they had. So when there is a present perfect already there, the second cannot be present perfect. It should be simple past. So if I say I have no plan, I've always said that I did not do anything wrong. I have always said that I did not do anything wrong. This way, Russia has always maintained that they had no plans to attack Ukraine. Attack on Ukraine is incorrect. Okay, fine. But the massive troop mobilization, troop means what? The soldiers, right? The soldiers or the the warriors of the army or defense. But the massive troop mobilization on the three flanks of Ukraine. Flanks means what? The backbone. Flanks mean the backbone. So I'll write the meaning. Flanks means backbone. Flank means backbone. Okay. Flanks of Ukraine, which included combat aircraft, warships, and S-400 missile defense systems. So the massive troop mobilization on the three flanks of Ukraine, which included combat aircraft, warships, and S-400 missile defense system, had risen fears of war. So recently we had this perception that there might be a war between Russia and Ukraine. You know that, right? So, but the massive troop mobilization on the three flanks of Ukraine, three backbones of Ukraine, which included combat aircraft, warships, and S-400 missile defense system, had risen is incorrect. It should be has raised. Had raised fears of war, not risen. Risen is used when we use something which has already, which rises on its own. But if something else causes rising in something else, it is used as raised. So if I say rise your hands, it is incorrect. I will say raise your hands. The prices have risen. Risen is used when we say that something rises on its own. The prices have risen. but they raised the prices. The shopkeeper has raised the price. So, had raised fears of war. The massive troop mobilization had raised fears of war. Clear? Besides means in addition to that, the US's warning that a Russian invasion means attack or conquering kind of thing, could come any day, and its decision to shut the American embassy in Kiev. So what has happened? The US has given a warning that the Russian invasion could come any day, and its decision means the Russians' decision to shut the American embassy in Kiev added with the frenzy. So it should be added to the frenzy. So frenzy means what? Frenzy means like a mental state where everyone is like disturbed or in a manic state. So if I'm in a frenzy, I'm in a manic state of mind. I'm like disturbed, totally disturbed. Yes, Sandil Kumar, good evening. So I'm totally disturbed. That's known as frenzy. So US gave a warning that the shutting down of American embassy in Kiev will add to the frenzy. Add to the frenzy means will be an additional hit on the frenzy which is already going on. Frenzy is what? Frenzy is mental disturbance. Okay. Frenzy is mental disturbance, like going haywire, weird kind of behavior. That's known as frenzy. The Russian approach appeared to root in building military pressure around Ukraine. So Russian approach appeared to root in the building military pressure around Ukraine to gain diplomatic leverage in talks to the West. So this has an error and this has an error. Anyone? So I'll tell you, the Russian approach appeared to have rooted in. I'll give you a very good example. Let me give you an example for that matter. He appeared to have seen a ghost. So to have seen is known as perfect infinitive. So with appear, with declare, with accepted, this kind of verbs we use perfect infinitive. Okay. So what it says, the Russian approach appeared to have been rooted. What does it mean? How do we come to this conclusion? I'll let you know. Well, if I say he appeared to have seen a ghost, means there are two actions, appear and seeing. Which is earlier? Seeing a ghost. So in this case where there are two actions, appear and have seen a ghost, we write the previous action in perfect infinitive. What is perfect infinitive? To plus have plus V3. To have seen a ghost. So appeared to have been rooted in building military pressure around Ukraine to gain diplomatic leverage. Leverage is like leeway. Leeway means an advantage. So leverage is an advantage in talks with the West. Okay. So this was a very phenomenal passage till now. We have discussed so many errors and so many good words, like leverage means advantage, frenzy means disturbed mental state, flanks means backbone, de-escalation means reduction in intensity of something bad. Okay, animosity or enmity or jealousy, that's known as de-escalation. Escalation means moving to the next level, de-escalation means coming back to the original level or going down basically. Clear? So nobody is answering, I don't know why. So he appeared to have seen a ghost, the approach appeared to have been rooted in military, building pressure around Ukraine to gain diplomatic leverage in talks with the West. Okay? So should I proceed further? Should we move ahead? Okay. Now the next part. Students who have joined just now, don't go away, because it is going to be a very enriching session for you. So just be online with us and enjoy the session. So the next paragraph says, since the last few weeks, European leaders, Hungary's Viktor Orban, France's Emmanuel Macron, and Germany's Olaf Scholz had visited Moscow. So this part has two errors. Good evening, Arvind. Yeah. So since last few weeks should be replaced by in the last few weeks. Because after since a point of time is used, and with in we can use the duration, or during we can use the duration, or for we can use the duration. For the last few weeks, in the last few weeks, during the last few weeks. In all these three cases we can use the last few weeks with it. We cannot use since, because after since a point of time should come. Since 1996, since last Monday, but in the last few weeks would be the correct answer. Yeah, in the last 2 weeks. Correct, Danny? Correct. Okay. So in the last few weeks, European leaders, Hungary's Viktor Orban, France's Emmanuel Macron, and Germany's Olaf Scholz visited Moscow. Have visited. Not had visited, because it talks about present perfect. Present perfect is used with since. For example, I have not seen him since. I have not seen him in the last few days. So Hungary's leaders or Germany's leaders have visited Moscow in the last few weeks. Okay, have should be the correct answer. Of them, the diplomatic interventions by Mr. Macron, who called for respecting Russian security concerns and sought to revive the Minsk agreement on Ukraine's civil strife, okay, and Mr. Scholz, who has said in Kiev that Ukraine's entry into NATO was not on the agenda right now, were significant. Okay, let us understand the meaning of this particular part and also the errors we have to resolve. There are 3 errors in this part till now. 3 errors. Of them, okay, and who has said that 2 errors. So what has happened is, we are talking about these 3 people, right? Of them means these 3 people. Of these, well, Danny, you have tried very well. It should be of these, not of them. It should be of these. These. Of these. Of these, the diplomatic interventions by Mr. Macron, who called for respecting Russian security concerns. Mr. Macron, who is the France's leader. So Mr. Macron has made some diplomatic interventions. Interventions means what? Interference. Who required respecting Russian security concerns and sought to revive the Minsk agreement on Ukraine's civil strife. Strife means efforts. And continuous effort is known as strife. Effort. And Mr. Scholz, who has said in Kiev, here it should be who had said in Kiev, because it's something past tense. See, it's past tense, right? Sought, past tense. So it should be had said. Who had said in Kiev that Ukraine's entry into NATO was, again it's a past tense sentence. Since it's past tense, we cannot use has over here, we'll use had. Understood? Yes, Aravind, you are right. Of these is the correct answer. So, who called for respecting Russian security concerns and sought to revive the Minsk agreement on Ukraine's civil strife, civil efforts, and Mr. Scholz, who had said in Kiev that Ukraine's entry into NATO was not on the agenda right now, were significant. Okay, their talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin opened a diplomatic path through de-escalation. Opened a diplomatic path of de-escalation. It should be of de-escalation. De-escalation means lowering in the intensity of animosity between, that is enmity between Ukraine and Russia. So there means all these three diplomats, their talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin opened a diplomatic path of de-escalation. It is so early to say that the crisis is over. Anyone would like to answer this question? It is so early to say that crisis is over. So it should be, it is too early to say that the crisis is over. It is too early to say that the crisis is over. Too early to say means it is so early that we cannot say that the crisis is over. If I say he is too intelligent to be deceived, it means he is so intelligent that he cannot be deceived. So it is too early to say that the crisis is over means it is so early so early to say that the crisis cannot be over this way. Okay. The complex issue is rooted in Russia's security concerns and NATO's expansionary open door policy with not quick solutions. Too early. Perfect. Kishore, perfect. Kishore, perfect. So the complex issue is rooted in Russia's security concerns and NATO's expansionary means the tendency to expand. Open door policy with no quick resolution. It should be not no. It should be no, not. It shouldn't be not. It should be no. No is the correct use. No quick solutions. So what does it mean is that the complex issue is ingrained in Russia's security concerns and NATO's expansionary open door policy with no quick solutions. So what does NATO has no inhibitions, no problems in accepting anyone. So now NATO's open door policy has no quick solutions. That's what the author wants to say. Okay. Siva Kumar says good night, sir. I'm not sure. Are you leaving, Soumya? Siva Kumar Soumya. You are saying good night. No quick solutions is correct. So Siva Kumar, you should say good evening, not good night. I'm sure you are either confused or you want to leave the session. I'm really sorry, Siva Kumar. Okay. If I'm not able to convince you. So he says good night. I don't know why. He wants to leave the session or what? Okay. Then the second last paragraph. But the suggestions from the talks Russia and the West have had point to a formula of peace. Very good sentence actually. So the suggestions from the talks Russia and the West. So Russia is having talks with the West and Russia West have had point to a formula for peace, not formula of peace. So it should be formula for peace. So there is a formula for everything, not formula of something. So formula is something which is for a particular situation, formula for a particular problem, formula for a particular equation, a formula for a particular problem or bottleneck or glitch this way. So it should be formula for peace and not formula of peace. So Russia's three concerns are: one, they don't want neighbors Georgia and Ukraine to be members of NATO. So Russia doesn't want. So it should be it doesn't want. So it doesn't want. Russia's three concerns are: it doesn't want neighbors Georgia and Ukraine to be members of NATO. 2. It wants NATO, read the US, to roll back its military presence and drills from the Eastern Europe and Black Sea. So what Russia wants? It wants that the US should roll back its military presence and drills from Eastern Europe and the Black Sea. Fine. She don't want. What is that? It doesn't want actually. It doesn't want. She cannot be used with don't. It should be she doesn't. It doesn't. Okay. So drills from Eastern Europe and Black Sea. 3. It wants the Ukraine. So you can see over here. It wants. So it should be it doesn't. Right. Parallelism. It wants the Ukraine crisis, the civil conflict between Kiev and the Russia-backed separatists. Separatists are those people who want separation, who want conflict. They are known as separatists. So Russia-backed separatists in Donbass to be resolved through the Minsk process. So what happens? Russia wants the Ukraine crisis to be resolved through the Minsk process. So in talks with Mr. Putin, US President Joe Biden has already said the US does not have some plan to employ offensive weapons. Okay, so it should be the does not have. So it has not with it. So it should be any plan. So the US President Joe Biden has already said that the US does not have any plan to deploy, not employ. It should be deploy. So offensive weapons are deployed and not employed. Employed is like giving employment to people, and deploy means you putting into use. So if something is deployed, it is put into use, and something is employed means it is, you give employment to people, right? Give opportunities to people, that's employment. And deployment is putting into use. You deploy the army, you deploy weapons this way, okay? So say the US does not have any plan to deploy offensive weapons or permanent combat troops to Ukraine, and that Washington was open to reducing drills and missiles in Eastern Europe by a reciprocal basis. So basis gives a hint that it should be on a reciprocal basis. Any plan, correct Arvind. Kishore says plans. Any plan to is correct answer. So the last part of the paragraph has on a reciprocal basis. So which basis we use on? And employ should be replaced by, yeah, on, correct. On. And you have understood this deploy thing, deploy, put into use, on, correct Danny. So have you understood deploy the weapons? So I have given some really difficult errors basically. So moving ahead to the next part of the passage, the last part I would say, Mr. Macron, who was from France I guess, has taken steps to revive the Minsk II deal to address Ukraine's internal crisis. So Mr. Macron has done what? He has taken steps to revive the Minsk II deal to address Ukraine's internal crisis. And then Mr. Scholz practically ruled out Ukraine joining NATO. So it should be, so understand this rule. So if a noun is followed by a gerund, and then gerund has another compatible noun with it, like for example Sachin batting in the match. So Ukraine's joining, Sachin's batting well, Ukraine's joining NATO, it should be in the possessive case. So if a noun is followed by a gerund, the noun should be in the possessive case. Okay? Because you say Ram's umbrella, John's book. Because joining is like a noun. So it should be preceded by a noun in the possessive case. Ruled out Ukraine's joining NATO in the foreseeable future. Foreseeable means something that is predictable future. Foreseeable is predictable. That can be predicted. Put together, this is a comprehensive package that could accommodate Russia's security concerns and the West's fears of Russian aggression. So if this happens, that Minsk II deal is signed and Ukraine's joining NATO is practically ruled out, what will happen is, this is a comprehensive package that could accommodate Russia's security concern and West's fears of Russian aggression. So everybody is afraid of Russia, that if the Minsk II deal is addressed and NATO does not accept Ukraine, in that case Russia's aggression will be taken care of by the West. Actually, West has a fear of Russian aggression. Foreseeable is expected, very good, and that can be predicted. So Moscow's decision to pull back, so you have got the answer as pull back over here, troops partially suggests that it sees potential in these proposals. So Moscow means Russia has seen potential in some proposals which have been given by these three diplomats. Russia might keep up some troops on the border. To retain the pressure. But the obvious next step is to take these proposals to solid agreements through diplomacy. Okay. So Russia has decided to keep some troops on the borders, but the next step would be to take these proposals to solid agreements through diplomacy. Diplomacy is what? Diplomacy is the the process of saying the nastiest things in the nicest ways. Okay. Now the last part, the West and Russia should be taken that road. So it should be should take that road. Very easy error it is actually. I just don't know why I gave this error to you. Should take. Okay. The West and Russia should take that road aimed to find a lasting solution to Europe's the most dangerous security crisis. So it should be, this the should be removed because already possessive case is here. Solution to Europe's most dangerous security crisis, not crisis. So crisis is plural and crisis is singular. So most dangerous security crisis, and this should be aimed at finding a lasting solution. Aimed at finding, because aimed is followed by at. My aim is to become a professor. He aimed at finding a solution to his problems this way. Should take, not should have taken. So the West and Russia should take that road aimed at finding a lasting solution to Europe's most dangerous security crisis. So this was the discussion for today. It should be should take and not should have taken, Danny. Should take, okay? Should take. Aimed at finding a lasting solution to Europe's most dangerous security crisis. Okay? Fine, students. So with this, I'd like to end the session today. We had a wonderful 32 minutes short session in which we discussed the entire editorial taken from the Hindu today, and I am sure you loved the session. Please give your feedback over here. If you feel you are dissatisfied, let me know as well. So basically it was a common error spotting approach. We will have close test approach, we'll have rearrangement approach, we will have odd sentences approach. We do multiple things every day, right? So everybody would, I would request everybody to watch the video of 11 AM session as well. Today 11 AM, it was a wonderful session. Even if you are not live at that particular point of time, you can go ahead and watch the recorded session later on. Fine? Thank you, Danny. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye-bye.